أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I am going to talk to you with a very important topic on emotional intelligence, and the topics is learning and flow, a new model for education. Flow is a state of self forgetfulness, the opposite of rumination and worry. Instead of being lost in nervous preoccupation, people in low flow are so absorbed in the task at hand that they lose all self-consciousness, dropping the small preoccupation, health, bills, even doing well of daily life. In this sense, moment of flow are egoless. Paradoxically, people in flow exhibit a masterly control of what they are doing. Their responses perfectly attuned to the changing demand of the tasks, and all the people perform in their peak while in flow. They are unconcerned with how they are doing, with thoughts of success or failure. The sheer pleasure of the act itself is what motivates them. Because flow emerges in the zone in which the activity challenges people do the fullest of their capacity. As their skills increase, it takes a heightened challenge to get into flow. If a task is so simple, it is boring. If too challenging, the result is anxiety rather than flow. It can be argued that mastery in the craft or skill is spurred on by experience of flow, that the motivation to get better and better at something, be it playing the violin, dancing, or gene plicing, is at least in part to stay in flow while doing it. Indeed, in a study of 200 artists 18 years after they left at art school, found that it was those who in their student days had savored the sheer joy of painting itself, who had become serious painters. Those who had been motivated in art school by dreams of fame and wealth, for the most drifted part away from art after graduating. Painters must want to paint above all else. If the artist in front of the canvas begins to wonder how much he will sell it for, what the critics will think, of it, he won't be able to pursue original avenue. Creative achievement depends on single-minded immersion. Just as flow is a prerequisite for mastery in craft, profession, or art, so too with the learning. The students who get into flow as they study to better, quite apart from their potential, as measured by achievement test. A student in a special Chicago high school for the sciences, all of whom had scored in the top 5% on a test of math proficiency, were rated by their math teachers as high or low achievers. Then the way these students spent their time was monitored. Each student carrying a beeper that signaled them at random time during the day to write down what they were doing and what their mood was. Not surprisingly, the low achievers spent only about 15 hours a week studying at home, much less than the 27 hours a week of homework done by their high achieving peers. The low achievers spend most of the hours during which they were not studying in socializing, hanging out with friends and family. When their mood were analyzed, a telling finding emerged. Both the high and low achievers spent a great deal of time during the week being bored by activities such as TV watching that posed no challenge to their abilities. Such, after all, is the lot of teenagers, but the key difference was their experience of studying. For the high achievers, studying gave them the pleasing, absorbing challenge of flow. 40% of the hours they spend at it, but for the low achievers, studying produced flow only 16% of the time. More often than not, it yielded anxiety, with the demand outreaching their abilities. The low achiever found pleasures and flow in socializing, not in studying. In short, students who achieve up to the level of their academic potential and beyond are more often drawn to study because it puts them in flow. Sadly, the low achievers, by failing to hone the skills that would get them in flow, both forfeit the enjoyment of study and run the risk of limiting the level of intellectual task that will be enjoyable to them in the future. Howard Gardner, the Harvard psychologist who developed the theory of multiple intelligences, sees flow and the positive state that the typify it the part of the healthiest way to teach children, motivating them from inside rather than by threat or promise of reward. We should use kids' positive state to draw them into learning in the domain where they can develop competencies. Gardner proposed to me, flow is an internal state that signifies that kid is engaged in a task that's right. You have to find something you like and stick to it. It's when kids get bored in school that they fight and act up, and when they are overwhelmed by a challenge that they get anxious about their schoolwork. But you learn at your best when you have something you care about and you can get pleasure from being engaged. The strategy used in many of the schools that are putting Gardner model of the multiple intelligences into practice revolve around identifying a child profile of natural competencies and playing to the strength as well as trying to shore up the weaknesses. A child who naturally talented in music or movement, for example, will enter flow more easily in that domain than in those where she is less able. Knowing a child profile can help a teacher fine tune the way a topic is presented to a child and offer lesson at the level from remedial to highly advanced that is most likely to provide an optimal challenge. Doing this makes learning more pleasurable, neither fearsome nor a bore. The hope is that when kids gain flow from learning, they will be emboldened to take on challenges in the new areas, says Gardner, adding that experience suggests this is the case. More generally, the flow model suggests that the achieving mastery of any skill or body knowledge should ideally happen naturally as the child is drawn to the area that spontaneously engage her, that in essence she loves. The initial passion can be the seed for a higher level of attainment as the child comes to realize that pursuing the field, whether it be dance, math, or music, is a source of the joy of flow. And since it takes pushing the limits of one ability to sustain flow, that becomes a prime motivator for getting better and better. It makes the child happy. This is of course is more positive model of learning and the education that most of us encounter in school. Who does not recall school, at least in part, as endless, dreary hours of boredom, punctuated by moments of high anxiety? Pursuing flow through learning is more human, natural, and very likely more effective way to marshal emotion in the service of the education. That it speaks to this more general sense in which challenging emotion towards a productive end is a master aptitude, whether it be in controlling impulse and putting off gratification, regulating our moods so they facilitate rather than impaired thinking, motivating ourselves to persist and try again in the face of setback, or finding ways to enter flow and so perform more effectively. All best speak the power of emotion to guide effective efforts. So in shortly, the flow is a state of mind that one can absorb themselves, be alert, get challenges themselves, and concentrate their whole energy or all emotions toward the center of activity to meet the challenges irrespective of what would be the final result. So for the flow, we have to be fully engaged and absorb themselves to exercise the challenging task to be successfully completed with excellence performance. So flow is the attitudes of mind or the state of mind that's get prepared someone to meet the challenges and get it complete successfully with full excellence performance. So every excellence we need to get involved, get entered into flow. Without getting entered into flow, there is no chance of excellence performance. So if you want to do some excellence performance, you have to be entered into flow. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.